All right, looks like we're rolling. 3 seconds in. Charlie and I are out here on the unfinished belt line. Not the typical direction that we go, where these clips end up being about 20 to 30 minutes. We are going further south towards the end of the actual beltline segment that goes to Murphy Avenue. And I'm targeting a 10-mile day with my little boy here. Treasure, hey, boy. And it's 1 p.m. We left like right at noon, so we've been out here for about an hour. Let's see what the mileage is so far. I should say it's March 19th. We've been out here for 2.3 miles. Going pretty slow, thanks to my Char boy, but that's all good. I'm out here with my backpack on. After having done the lighter pack, make sure we're still recording. Cool. I fear the loss of recordings now after the fiasco with the Lilburn walk. Lost a very good 20-minute clip that apparently won't soon be forgotten. But anyway, Charlie and I are out here and targeting a 10-mile day, and it's pretty good terrain to be wearing this pack for. I do feel like I'm getting stronger, which is great. I've been doing every other day a walk with the pack, starting from the Lilburn day last Friday. And I was getting this bad pain in my upper right shoulder blade, and I haven't had that yet today. It's not to say it won't emerge as the miles progress onward, but I don't even have the slightest hint of it. So hopefully I injured it enough last Friday for it to actually be repaired by my body. You know, you do a bad enough bang up job on your body, and my theory is that, you know, squeaky wheel gets the oil kind of thing. Got a lot of construction in front of me. This is looking like a pretty legit roadblock, so might have to be doing some dialogue up here with some folks, which may be interesting. I'll try to get off the belt line if need be, so that I can rejoin it on the other side. But I did just realize that Charlie and I could walk on the west side belt line, which we actually have never done before. I was thinking that we would do an out and back, which I never really like doing because it's boring. You know, who wants to tread the exact same trail, especially so quickly, like to do it back to back? No thank you. So I'm thinking maybe we'll do a little bit of the extended west side belt line that's actually completed, and then, I don't know, once we hit 5 miles, head back carefully from there. You know, this part of the belt line goes into an area of town that's a little bit rougher. It's a little bit more industrial. It's being really revamped now, especially with this belt line. You know, the belt line just represents such a financial opportunity. It's sort of like, you know, the housing boom that preceded the crisis of 2008, I suppose, or 2010 or whatever that was. It's just like, you know, the Beltline is the rising tide that lifts all boats. And, you know, to a degree, I don't think it's incorrect. You know, it's hard to imagine, you know, the Beltline just brings people out, and the options for what's available on the Beltline are certainly limited. It's okay. You're okay, Charlie. It's okay. Charlie getting scared of the dump truck in front of us. It's blocking our path. But yeah, you know, even looking to my right at this current moment, right before we cross over, I don't know, this is probably Metropolitan we're about to cross over, which makes me wonder, I guess Hill Street is the first bridge, Metropolitan must be the second. So, anyway, there's a building to my right that I'm sure will soon be renovated to be some sort of like restaurant, bar, you know, shops, that kind of thing. That's just the nature of the beast. We got this whole area just going to be totally transformed. Coming up to the bridge now where this big dump truck is. I'm not sure who's going to go where. but we'll soon see. Looks like there's another civilian on the other side of the bridge who's contemplating the best way forward along with me. But yeah, I'm not sure what we'll do here. Probably look for an exit strategy. Let's see what we got. So I'm pretty sure you can walk up the other side of the belt line. You can see it. Is there a way down over here, Charlie? Looks like it. Yeah, that's a pretty severe angle, but I think we can negotiate it. Good boy. I am lifting little Charlie because this is a long jump. Let's go this way. Come on. The dump truck actually just went over the bridge, so I guess we'll go over the bridge too. Actually, this way, Charlie. Let's go back the way we came. All right, come on, this way. All right, well, that was easy enough. Crossing this bridge now. I love that these Beltline people just don't care. And there's a bunch of no trespassing signs, but I've never been hassled by anyone on this. Passing people. How's it going? Yeah, everyone's nice enough. Woke up at around 8:30 this morning. Yesterday when I was organizing the bike room, I found this little bit of coffee that my mom had gotten me a while back. It was like some specialty hiker coffee. Charlie, this way. And I'd definitely forgotten about it, so I drank the rest of that this morning, and I really didn't even notice that it wasn't Starbucks, so take that for what it's worth, I suppose. Did a little bit of more lighter pack gear input. I haven't actually weighed out all the things, like the worn items that I'm gonna wear and the food items that I'll take initially. That stuff, it doesn't really matter how much it weighs. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna be wearing like a heavy, like Dickies work jacket that weighs like 3 or 4 pounds, but the shirt that I'm going to wear is the shirt I'm going to wear. So whether I know how much it weighs or not doesn't really matter at this point. And for food, I have a general idea of what I'll take with me initially for the first few days. Neal's Gap is only 30 some miles from the beginning, and when Ben and I did it last year, the Appalachian Trail, we went in there for a Nero on the 3rd day. So again, I am planning on pretty much replicating the path that we took until we got to Winding Stair Gap. So that would mean, staying somewhere in Neal's Gap. There's a hiker hostel, and I think that would be really cool to stay in, especially since I skipped it. We didn't stay there last year. We opted for the cabins, which were more expensive and probably more seclusionary. They were away from people more so than the hostel would obviously be. But I want to meet my compatriots. I want to hope that someone's out there that day. So I think I'll do probably a Nero. Maybe not though. I don't even know. It's hard to say. It'll depend a lot on the time that I actually get up there, and how my supplies are doing. But I know that's the first instance where I'll have an option to stay in a actual place and not just in my tent or in a shelter. And then the next one would, I think, be Hiawassee, which that was like a good 8 miles away, and Top of Georgia is actually right there. So Top of Georgia would be a cool place to either do a resupply or to stay. But again, that's a little too soon, and I think I've already gone over this before, but here I am. So I want to go over it again. So we stayed at Neal's Gap on the 3rd day, then Blue Mountain the 4th day, Hiawassee the 5th day, some campsite the 6th day, and the 7th day we were at my parents' cabin. So, going into town twice in 1 week seems excessive, but I suppose, there's going to be an obvious learning curve where I'm sort of beginning to understand what I'll need, how much of it I'll need, and, I did notice towards the end, for sure, and again, this is going to be a broken record until I get out there and make some new memories, but everything got way more efficient and, pared down. Like, I knew that I didn't need, for the last day, obviously, it was easy to take into account how much food I would need, because I knew I would be eating dinner at my parents' place. I was giving out coffee to Beamer and Nugget because I knew I wouldn't need it. And, there's only so much more training I feel like I have in me before these routes just start to get super boring. I've been out here on the unfinished Beltline so many times, and, the only thing that is interesting to take note of is the progression that's occurred since the last time I was out here. But in terms of the landscape itself, it's not so inspirational. There's a bunch of trash everywhere. It does get pretty crowded on the weekends, so there is a bit of a community vibe eventually. But, I'm happy that all of this work I've been putting into this goal will actually have it'll actually have a manifestation. I'm an active person, it's my lifestyle, but it's also great to think that, as I told Ben Chestnut, this is like sort of a final exam of my physical fitness. It's like, and also my mental fitness. There's no doubt, obviously, with like Zach Badger talking about, Zach Badger, like that's his last name, Zach Davis, talking about the whole thing being, it is a huge physical undertaking, but really, it's the mental thing that really will determine your stick-to-itiveness, because we can endure a lot as people, and, even some of those Joe Rogan episodes where it says that, like, people give up at 40%, and in truth, like, people probably give up at a far lower number than that, like, in terms of, like, how much are you giving and how much are you putting into this thing? And when you start to feel resistance, what point do you give up? Like, is it when the resistance requires 40% of your will to combat it? Is that when you give up? Or is it somewhere further down the line? And I honestly don't know where that is for me. When I first did it last year with Ben, the Appalachian Trail, I have recorded proof saying to myself, I think this might be a one and done, because this is just so hard, and it's so much more different than biking and all that. It's got another dude. I thought he might want to talk to me. Guess not. But there's an intoxication to that, and I don't remember when I was out there last year being in a ton of pain or necessarily being sore day to day. I do remember that each day I would have about 2 hours until my feet would start to hurt, because I was wearing some shitty boots that didn't do anything but the only thing those shoes were good for was making blisters. You want some water? Charlie, you want some water? It's been a little while. I don't want you to get too hot out here. Here you go, boy. Charlie, hey, come here. Hey, what are you doing? Is there a bone or something? Hey, I don't want to waste this water. We only have like half of the thing left. This way, boy. Come on, what are you doing? Hey, do you want some water? Hey, do you want some water? All right. He's drinking some water. You want some more? You want some more? And also, it rained for like the first 3 days or so. So we were immediately in the shit. And I remember being in my tent the first night, like having thoroughly soaked a lot of my clothes, which was a bad problem because they were things that I should have been able to wear once I finally got into camp for the night. And I just remember being in my tent and being like, there were so many things that I would do differently. I'd gotten my gloves wet, I'd gotten my fleece wet. I think the boots were waterproof, which was their only truly valuable quality. But, my feet were in bad shape. And actually sleep didn't even come that fast that night because we only hiked like 16 miles, which isn't a little bit, it's a pretty big hike, but for some reason, I don't know, it was rainy and the shelter was full, and we got there, and I remember getting in bed at like 7:30, not really being able to sleep for a while, listening to a podcast, making some clips. Speaking of which, let me make sure this is still recording. Cool. Much of it's just, I don't really remember the thread that I was going down because Charlie got sort of distracted by that dog back there while I was trying to make him drink, but, oops, sorry, Charlie. Yeah. I've listened back to a lot of these clips. If I remember the general feeling of one being good, I'll be like, yeah, I'll listen to that just to see how it sounds and what I talked about, see if I remember saying everything that I did. And I definitely say and and like and do these little speech things. And I remember hearing this thing about how Barack Obama spoke in such a fashion. Then he would, take pauses and he would say and like and etc. All those little things, like those placeholder words that don't actually mean anything, but they sort of make it like like that. Like they're the bridge between thoughts. If you have a momentary lapse in what you're trying to say, it's the thing that fills that space as you put together the next package of words to go out. And I remember hearing that like some sort of like breakdown of his speeches, and like one of the things that makes him more relatable, just in general, was that he used those speech habits or structures or whatever they are. Just it's like how normal people talk. So, when you listen to a speech by like FDR or something like that, it sounds so. He sounds like a dignitary, and it sounds so. It has such a high level of decorum, and the way it flows is just like so. It's unnatural in that it's perfect. It's perfect. Like people aren't stopping over their words and sounding stupid and using placeholders because they don't know what they're going to say next. Obviously, this is like a rehearsed speech, and it's been practiced. And so I hope, if nothing else, since I'm already banking on the fact that this show is so boring that it becomes interesting, I hope that my speech is so mundane that it becomes fantastic, which is just, that's more of just a joke. But, in truth, I do think, like, the reason I like the Brody Stevens podcast is because he's just talking. He's just being himself, he likes to call it a no-shtick zone, He's just talking. He's saying the things that are true. Oh, there's a fire going over there. What are they burning? Pallets. Interesting. Weird. This is a no-shtick zone. Come on. What are you saying to me? No shtick. That's what I like. I like to listen to that kind of stuff because I do think, on the whole, people are interesting. And if everyone is basically on the same level, that Adlerian courage to be brave type of idea that, there are horizontal relationships between all humans. The vertical ones are just mirages that we place upon it, and it's not a real thing. Oh wow, people stop. Oh, no, they're not stopping.
How are you, Dave?
How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. It's a nice day. Say what?
You got the boss man with you.
Oh yeah, you know it. He's leading the way.
You going a long ways?
Not really. Oh yeah, I'm actually just training for a long walk.
That's a good thing to do.
Yeah, it's healthy, right?
You have a safe day.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Enjoy it.
You too.
Nice dude. I thought he was someone from Little 5 Points. I'm not going to assume that guy was homeless necessarily, but he definitely fits a certain profile. But I guess, if you have an old enough white guy, they all end up looking the same pretty quick. And this guy looks like he could be brothers with two other guys that I know from Little 5 Points. One who's blind, who I gave $20 to one time. Because, I think it was because I was working at Outback at the time, and I would see this guy, because Outback is in Little 5 Points. I'd see him all the time, and I wouldn't necessarily always have money to hand out. And so I felt like I told him several times, I'll get you next time, kind of thing, when he would ask for change or whatever. And so eventually, with the express idea of giving him $20, I went out with a $20 bill and found him, gave it to him, and was a little worried and had to do it carefully because I didn't want people seeing that, other homeless people, that I gave him $20, especially if he is blind. I don't want him to be robbed because I just gave him a lot of money. That would not really be within my purposes. I have a security guard coming up, so I'm going to go ahead and wait for a minute to keep talking. Come on, Joe. All right. Looks like they're filming a movie here. Go see how far away I am from the other start of the belt line. Pretty close, I think. This way, Charlie. This whole section, how they connect these two areas, isn't super clear. Maybe they don't want to connect them officially yet. Good job. Anyway, lost my train of thought again. What are you doing, Mr. Charlie? This is chicken bone heaven, so there's definitely a huge chance that it's going to be a bunch of shit all over the floor Charlie's trying to eat. And now that I'm around people again, out of the woods, I look like a vagabond. It's like my friend James was telling me the other day. You don't typically see them out in this direction because there's no panhandle opportunities if you're out here, really. There's just other homeless people, impoverished people. There's not really a ton of options. So I guess even though I feel like a fraud because I look like a certain type of person, at least I'm in an area where they don't tend to congregate. But the funny part about the last time James mentioned that was shortly after he said so, just as if they were summoned. All of a sudden, this group of people appeared wearing their army fatigues and other brownish, greenish, dark colored clothing with the dog, just like me, although I wear black pretty exclusively because of George Carlin, his influence on me in my early years. So yeah, thankfully I'm not trying to live that life. That life to me seems very uninspired and very lazy. It's just, you typically do see white kids doing it, and it just seems like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm necessarily goal-oriented per se. I wouldn't say I'm not goal-oriented. I certainly like goals, but I don't know. I think I like a looser definition of an overall goal. I definitely like short-term goals. I'm a list maker, so I do like to make little tasks for myself to complete throughout a given day. For instance, I did write that I need to sweep the house later tonight, which will be nice to do. I finished going through the whole house today. Found a few things, threw away a few things, so that whole thing is pretty much done. I'll probably do it one more time before I leave, just because, as I told my sibling yesterday, you have OCD, you can always check one more time. Just as a little funny thing. Got a surveyor here about to pass by. So, yeah, finished checking the house. Organized some email stuff. I finished chopping through the last log that I had. I wanted to chop all this wood before I leave, so that we can have an opportunity to season while I'm not here. And I feel like chopped wood, one log obviously gets some portion of surface area increase by cutting it. So hopefully it will season faster, dry out, so I can chop it later and burn it. I have a little fire pit in my backyard that I made a while ago, so that would be cool to use that in the future. I'll probably be pretty good at making fires by the time I get back. Not that I'm bad now, but I'm sure, I've only made a handful in my life, and I've enjoyed it, but I'm about to make a lifetime worth probably in the next few months, to whatever degree that takes form in. Trying to figure out how to get onto the Beltline. Got a police car that's about to go by. Charlie's probably going to freak out. Audio tour. Let's see. Is there any shortcut to the Beltline? Doesn't really look like it. No easy shortcut. I don't want to hurt Charlie's feet. Come on, Charlie. I do want to get down there, though. I don't want to keep being up here. Uh-oh. Nope. Chicken bones. Huh. I don't really want to go the official way, but I guess I could. That's sort of a no-dust sentence. I guess I will. Go down it, and then I can just jump on the unfinished part again once we're ready to head home. So this is a first. Kind of surprised it's never occurred to me before to do this, but better late than never. Yeah, it seems like my axe is about to break, which is fitting because it lasted right up to the end. But now, when I pull it out of a log, it feels there's some play in the interface where the handle meets the head. So, it's certainly not chopping as well. And it is not longed for this world. Scatterbrained right now. Trying to pay attention to everything around me. This is an area that I don't typically go down, so I don't know what the general vibe of it is. And again, like I said, this is a part of the city where you need to make sure you're not being lackadaisical. For no real reason. I don't have any... Well, I shouldn't even say that, because you know what? One time I did come here with a friend, Jake. Shout out to Jacob. And there was a dead pit bull in the middle of the road that had been shot, like, I guess in the head. And it was a pretty violent scene to come across. It was just a dead dog, blood everywhere. And it just felt so violent. And so, like, damn, there's like no regard for life right here, right now. Whoever did this to this dog, I don't know. I can't imagine what the justification would be. And I guess the scarier part there is that there may not even be any justification. The person might have just acted impulsively without even thinking. And, that's the thing you got to be careful of. You don't want to rub someone the wrong way if they're on a short fuse. It's kind of like that time when I met my friend Kevin at a bar, and some weird guy accused me of being a police officer for like absolutely no discernible reason, and insisted that I was, and wanted to fight me over his misapprehension of who I was and what I was. It's so frustrating, because it's just like, what do? You can't argue with him, because there's I work through logic. This guy is not being logical. He's got some workers passing by. Still no access to the belt line aside from the official beginning, which I guess is what we're headed for. But anyway, this is a situation that no one wants to be in. Yeah, there's been a lot of thoughts going through this whole clip. I almost didn't even think about making it. It was sort of a aha moment where I was like, oh, I'm supposed to make a clip this morning when I started this walk. This way. And I forgot to start it. Typically, Charlie and I are walking the other direction on the unfinished belt line, so it's easy to remember, and it's pretty easy to create, because typically when I head out on that area, there's no one else out there, so I can just speak freely. But going the opposite direction, I just had to kind of remind myself, oh yeah, I need to make my clip for the day. And I didn't really feel like I had anything to say initially, but lo and behold, I've said a ton of things. Not necessarily a ton of things that are organized in any specific way, but I feel like I've had a pretty decent thread, and beyond wielding it, I've sort of peppered in some other details that came along as I traversed the crevices of my mind, which I enjoy doing and enjoy talking about. Man, I haven't been over here for a long time. This section of the Beltline. This is the finished portion of the southwest. This is like more southeast. But then again, I guess not. Charlie, come on. Get out of the way. Got people coming all around. But they're not honking at me. Slight altercation. Gone through some tall grasses. Didn't really like that. Seems like a good place for ticks. There's this fucking weirdo dude I saw earlier. This way. 132. We'll need to be out for at least 4 hours to get 10 miles. Check for ticks real quick. Need some water? Charlie? Here. Try a little bit of water. Need some more? Some more water? Lol. Thirsty boy. Not sure how compelling this content is at this point. I'll probably leave the clip here soon. Oh, God damn it, Charlie. Just wiped a huge glob of spit all over me. Gross. I gotta get that off. Charlie, wait. Definitely want to check my mileage too. Alright. Got that spit off. Charlie's been watered. The weird dude who actually has a car, I'm shocked. Just saw him get into a van, like a Honda Odyssey. 4 miles done, so yeah. We'll probably do maybe a mile or 2 on this, and then jump off at some point and head back home. And that'll probably be it. For the rest of the day, I'm planning on sweeping / raking the backyard and drinking a beer while I do that. Making dinner, having another beer for that, sweeping like I mentioned. Then that's pretty much the day done right there. Not really planning on going out anymore after this walk, so we'll just be hanging out with Erica and the dogs. It was a pretty good day, pretty average and somewhat like uneventful, but you know, it's good enough. So for now, before I just start rambling completely in an incoherent fashion, I'll leave it there. What are we sitting at? 35 minutes. Good Lord, that's the longest clip I've ever made. Wow. Well, there you go. That's what you get. You start thinking the tank is empty, and somehow it magically fills itself. So for now, on that note, I will talk to you tomorrow. It's only 10 days left tomorrow, 11 until I hit the trail. So let's get stoked about it. Peace.